The twin suns of Zorathis hung low on the horizon, casting an amber glow over the sprawling palace of King Xyloth. The air was thick with the scent of alien flora, and the distant hum of starships echoed through the sky. Inside the palace, Princess Lyra, the king's only daughter, lounged on a floating chaise, her iridescent gown shimmering like liquid starlight. She was the epitome of arrogance, her sharp tongue and disdain for others earning her few allies. But tonight, her arrogance would put her in the crosshairs of a deadly plot. Unbeknownst to the royal family, a faction of alien assassins known as the Void had infiltrated the palace. The Void were a shadowy collective of mercenaries, their motives as inscrutable as their shifting forms. They had been hired by a rival kingdom to eliminate Lyra, whose reckless diplomacy had nearly sparked an intergalactic war. The Void moved like whispers through the halls, their cloaking devices rendering them invisible to the palace's security systems. As the first sun dipped below the horizon, the Void struck. The palace alarms blared, and chaos erupted. Guards fell to silent, precise strikes, their bodies crumpling before they could raise their weapons. Lyra, oblivious to the danger, was in her private chambers, admiring her reflection in a holographic mirror. She sneered at the thought of her father's warnings about her behavior. "Let them come," she muttered. "I am untouchable." But she was wrong. The door to her chamber hissed open, and a figure stepped inside. It was not a Void assassin, but a human soldier named Captain Elias Drake. He was a member of the intergalactic peacekeeping force, stationed on Zorathis to oversee a fragile treaty. Drake was a seasoned warrior, his face scarred from countless battles, and his eyes hardened by the horrors of war. He had been monitoring the Void's movements and had raced to the palace to warn the king. But he was too late to stop the initial assault. "Princess, we need to move." "Now," Drake said, his voice firm but urgent. Lyra turned, her eyes narrowing. "And who are you to order me around, human? This is my palace. I'm not going anywhere." Drake stepped closer, his patience wearing thin. "Your palace is under attack. If you stay here, you'll die." She scoffed. "I can handle myself. I don't need some lowly soldier to protect me." Before Drake could respond, the air shimmered behind Lyra, and a Void assassin materialized, its blade poised to strike. Drake reacted instantly, drawing his plasma pistol and firing a single shot. The assassin crumpled to the ground, its form dissolving into a pool of black liquid. Lyra stared at the remains, her arrogance faltering for the first time. What was that?" "That," Drake said, grabbing her arm, "is why we need to leave. Now." Reluctantly, Lyra allowed herself to be pulled from the chamber. The palace was a war zone, the corridors littered with the bodies of guards and the occasional Void assassin. Drake moved with precision, his training evident in every step. He led Lyra through hidden passages and service tunnels, avoiding the main thoroughfares where the Void were concentrated. As they navigated the labyrinthine palace, Lyra's arrogance began to crack. She had always believed herself invincible, protected by her status and her father's power. But the sight of the Void, their cold efficiency, their utter lack of mercy, shook her to her core. For the first time, she felt fear. "Why are they after me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Because you're a liability," Drake replied bluntly. "Your actions nearly started a war. Someone decided you're better off dead." Lyra flinched at his words, but said nothing. They reached a hidden exit, but as Drake activated the door, a group of Void assassins appeared, blocking their path. Drake pushed Lyra behind him and raised his weapon. "Stay close," he ordered. The Void attacked in unison, their movements a blur. Drake fought with everything he had, his plasma pistol blazing and his combat knife slashing through the shadows. But the Void were relentless, their numbers overwhelming. Just as it seemed they would be overrun, Lyra did something unexpected. She grabbed a fallen guard's weapon and fired. Her shots were wild, but they forced the Void to scatter. Drake seized the opportunity, taking down 2 more assassins. Together, they fought their way to the exit, emerging into the cool night air. But their ordeal was far from over. The Void had anticipated their escape and had stationed snipers on the surrounding rooftops. Drake shoved Lyra to the ground as a plasma bolt sizzled past her head. "We need to get to the shuttle," Drake said, pointing to a small craft parked 100 meters away. "Stay low and move fast." Lyra nodded, her earlier arrogance replaced by grim determination. They sprinted across the open courtyard, dodging plasma fire. Drake returned fire, his shots precise and deadly. But as they neared the shuttle, a Void assassin appeared in their path, its blade gleaming. Drake didn't hesitate. He charged the assassin, engaging it in close combat. The fight was brutal, both combatants moving with lethal speed. But Drake was tiring, and the assassin's blade found its mark, slicing across his chest. Lyra screamed, raising her weapon and firing. The shot struck the assassin in the head, and it fell. She rushed to Drake's side, her hands trembling as she tried to staunch the bleeding. "You're hurt," she said, her voice breaking. Drake grimaced. "I'll live, but we need to go. Now." With Lyra's help, they boarded the shuttle. Drake activated the engines, and the craft shot into the sky. Behind them, the palace burned, a testament to the Void's ruthlessness. As they flew to safety, Lyra looked at Drake, her eyes filled with a mix of gratitude and guilt. I'm sorry," she said quietly, "for everything." Drake glanced at her, his expression softening. "You're alive. That's what matters." The shuttle disappeared into the stars, leaving Zorathis behind. For Lyra, it was the end of one life and the beginning of another. She had been arrogant, reckless, and selfish. But in the face of death, she had found courage and a newfound respect for the human soldier who had risked everything to save her. As for Drake, he knew the galaxy was still a dangerous place. But for now, they were safe. And that was enough. Epilogue. Weeks later, Lyra stood on the bridge of a peacekeeper vessel, her once pristine gown replaced by a simple uniform. She had renounced her title, choosing instead to join the intergalactic peacekeeping force. Drake stood beside her, his wounds healed, but his scars a permanent reminder of their ordeal. "You sure about this?" he asked, his tone teasing but kind. Lyra smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "For the first time in my life, I'm sure of something. I want to make a difference. And I owe you that much." Drake nodded, a hint of pride in his gaze. "Welcome to the team, recruit." As the ship soared through the stars, Lyra felt a sense of purpose she had never known. She was no longer the arrogant princess of Zorathis. She was a soldier, a protector, and a friend. And for the first time, she felt truly alive.